Hello friends, my name is Sylvia and I'm a 35-year-old knitter and sewer or sewist or whatever you want to call it who lives right outside of Paris, France, and welcome to my very first sewing podcast. If you want to find me on Instagram or on Ravelry, my username on both of those platforms. What should I say, Ravelry if it's a sewing podcast? Anyway, since a lot of people who sew also knit, if you want to find me on Instagram or Ravelry, my username is SylvieRar on both of those. I'll have it down here at the bottom of the screen and also in the description box below underneath this video. So on this channel, I've mainly made knitting related videos, but I've been sewing a bit more lately and I didn't want to clog up my knitting podcast with it because I usually have so much to get through in those because I do them kind of sparingly. So why not film a 100% sewing video? To give you a little bit of background, a couple of years ago I took a 10-week sewing class where I would go to this studio called Les Ateliers by the Way, which is near République in Paris, if you're familiar with the geography of Paris. And we had 3-hour classes once a week for 10 weeks. And I did that, I think it was almost 2 years ago now. And my ultimate goal was like, yes, I want to knit and sew all of my wardrobe. I don't want to buy any more clothes ever. Have I done that? Not so much. I find sewing to be a bit more of a fickle friend than knitting. I have struggled to find my sojo. I will go through phases where I will sew a little bit and then stop. And then lately I decided, let's get back into this. Let's get back to those goals. And I've been enjoying it a bit more. And I've also been learning that I shouldn't be rushing through things and I should be careful, and then I will be happier with how things look because it doesn't look terrible because I rushed through it, basically. So I wanted to talk to you about 3 recently finished sewing projects and then maybe a couple of different things that are coming up. And maybe have a quick look at my fabric stash. I don't have that much anyway, so it's just right here in my little cabinet. Let's get started. In no particular order, this is the, I'm not sure how to say it in English, the Hysope. In French, it's Hysope top from Deer & Doe, the duo of French pattern designers. So they recently sold their business to Closet Core Patterns, but you can still find all of their patterns under the Deer & Doe category on the Closet Core website, I believe. I made this top with a 100% cotton from Les Coupons de Saint-Pierre. So I think everything I'm going to show you guys is from there. It's a store that sells, there's an online store and there's also an in-person store. They sell 3-meter remnants for a variety of prices. I think this was 15 euros maybe, or 10 euros for 3 meters of this little ditzy floral cotton. And I decided to do the facing in just this like plain kind of purple cotton. And I used some pre-made bias binding that I already had for the sleeve holes. And then I decided to do the little button plackets in this super cheap, basic purple cotton that kind of is the same color as the purple here. And don't look too closely because my machine was jamming and doing terrible things. And also, I think this side, yeah, this side looks much better. We can look at that. Here, like the stitch line is actually all on the purple. I still need to wash this. Some of the blue friction marker that I used to make some markings is still kind of visible, though it's mostly hidden by these buttons. And the pattern has 2 views, so there's a V-neck view and then there's the round neck, so I went for the round neck. And also these buttons, I thrifted these buttons from, there's a kind of chain of thrift stores in France called Emmaüs. So these cute, I guess, vintage buttons. I'm not sure how well you can see that, I hope you can. But I think it's on this side where it's not quite as even here. And the stitching on this side here starts out here and kind of ends up on the pattern part. And also my machine jammed a little bit here. I tried to trim it as much as possible. But I think it still came out pretty cute. And I have been trying to French seam as much as possible also, since I don't have a serger. And so I French seamed the shoulders. I think that's it though, because the sides, they have this button band, so it's folded in twice. hems on the bottom are folded in twice as well. And I didn't really know what to do with the facing. I just zigzag stitched the facing because I didn't really know what to do. I don't like how it looks. And I had asked the question on my French channel. I have a French channel where I do like vlogs where I talk both knitting and sewing, and I feel like it works better keeping them together there. But I had asked, like, what can I do to make this prettier? Because even if I had an overlocker and if I overlocked this, I don't think it's like the most aesthetic choice, you know? And someone was like, oh, you can just do a bias binding all around the edge of the facing. I was like, I like that idea. I will use it next time I do a facing. Finished object number 1. Then we have my absolute wonderful favorite baby. I'm obsessed with this dress. I love it. Back up a little bit. So this is the Bardon Dress. It's a free pattern from Peppermint magazine. I've done a couple of their other patterns before from when I was in like a Sojo mood last year that were a little less successful. And this was really my first attempt at really slowing down and trying to be really careful. There are still some hiccups here and there, but I am very, very happy with this. I had bought this funky bias binding. It's like a gingham, it's like a gingham neon yellow. And in the store, I went to the store and the lighting was very dim, and I had brought a little piece of this fabric and it seemed to match the yellow. I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but I think it almost looks the same on camera, but this is neon and this is not. But it's invisible bias anyway, so it don't matter. And I had bought 2 meters and I did the armholes, and then I realized there was no way I was going to have enough for the neckline. I had some of this purple bias binding hanging around, which is also what I use on the armholes of this guy. And that one around the neck. This is a much thinner bias, and it was much easier to work with than this, which was much thicker. I did the lower waist version because the pattern also has a line for you to raise the waist up a little bit, which I'm going to do for my second version with this cotton fabric here, also from Les Coupons de Saint-Pierre. This is also from Les Coupons de Saint-Pierre. Both are 100% cotton, so this is like a Madras check, and I find most Madras checks to be very like primary color-y, but I really loved the color on this. It's just a really stunning piece. So it's, the bodice is like a simple little tank top, and then there are 2 gathered tiers, one longer than the other. Seeing as this fabric had these massive stripes, I was like, okay, I have to be extremely careful with my pinning and my cutting, because I didn't want something to be like completely diagonal or like awkwardly cut off. And I think I did a really good job. I'm really, really proud of how straight these look. Like every single tier here, it looks really straight. Down here as well. Like I think there might be small variations, but not super perceptible. Yay! Really, really happy with that. Yesterday, I almost finished a project that made me abandon sewing for half a year. Let me show you. This is the Myosotis in French dress, again from Deer & Doe. And this is worked up in a viscose, also from Les Coupons de Saint-Pierre. Surprise, surprise. And I actually started this dress, I think in November. I don't know if it was November or December of last year, and my original idea was to wear it to my sister's. My sister and her now husband, they were doing a courtroom, like basic wedding, and I just wanted to make this for that because I thought it would look really nice. This beautiful fabric. I love it. Look at this print. But this thing, I struggled working with this fabric so much. I don't know what the grams per square meter is on this, but it's pretty light. And as you can see, it's very drapey, being a 100% viscose. I'd worked with a 100% viscose before I made a top out of it, and I don't remember struggling that much, but it was also a much simpler pattern. All the gathering, I struggled so much with all the gathering. I have a bunch of tucks in the sleeves. It's not great, but I just was like, you know what? We're living, we're learning, we're working with it. I don't know how well you can see them there. There are some tucks also in the skirt. I think the tucks in the sleeve are really the most obvious, but I think the fact that it's a patterned fabric kind of helps hide the sins a little bit. I think there's still some gathering stitches that I need to remove from the sleeves. Maybe that'll help a little bit, but yeah, I had abandoned it. Why? Because I think, well, first of all, I didn't finish it before we went to visit my sister. And then when I came back, I was like, let me try to finish it anyway. I can wear it for something else. And it has a mandarin collar, this pattern, like a little stick up collar. I could not wrap my head around how to attach it. I watched YouTube videos. I tried reading the pattern super carefully. I couldn't understand it. I'm a very visual person, and I couldn't really find anyone making this pattern and showing how to attach the collar like super clearly enough for my silly little brain to understand. And so it just kind of got shoved aside, and I stopped sewing for many months. I had got to talking with one chick who goes to my yoga class, not my yoga class, but who goes to the same yoga class as me sometimes. And I was wearing a sweater that I had knit. She's like, oh, did you knit that? And I was like, yes, I did. And I asked her, do you knit? She's like, no, but I sew. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. I started a sewing project ages ago and I abandoned it. And she was like, oh, maybe I can help you. The next time we went to the same class, I think I brought the whole thing. I brought the dress and the collar piece and the pattern. And she was like, okay, you just need to attach it like this and that. And seeing it, it kind of clicked. And I was like, okay, I got this. I can do it. So I got home and like, I don't know if it was that, I think it was a little bit later. I was like, all right, let's do this now that I got it. Except that I think I didn't pin it perfectly in place. I didn't catch the edges of the collar, and so there was all this frayed fabric sticking out, and it looked so bad. And so once again, I abandoned it for months. And then I started sewing again a couple weeks ago. I made those two pieces and decided to pick this back up. I ripped off the collar last week. On Sunday, I was extremely tired. I slept very badly on Saturday night. And I was like, I want to sew. I'm probably going to mess things up, but I want to sew anyway. And guess what I did? I attached the collar backwards. And it was fraying so much because this fabric frays a lot. And I had read a while ago, someone was like, oh yeah, I just like to sometimes do a bias binding instead of that collar. So I ripped off my backwards collar and used my purple bias binding yet again, which has been used now on all three of those projects. I had already assembled the sleeves. They just need to be set in. They need to be eased in. And then I needed to hem the bottom hem. Literally, that was it. The collar, attach the sleeves, and hem the bottom. So I did the bias binding on, I don't remember if it was Sunday or yesterday, and I think it was Sunday. And then I did the sleeves and the bottom hem yesterday. However, since I started making this a while ago, I was not so, I did some French seams in this, but some of them are just, especially the gathered seams, they look real bad. But it's on the inside, right? You live and you learn. Is there a nicer way to finish a gathered seam other than like a zigzag or an overlock? Because I don't have an overlocker, as I said. And I would just like to figure out a way to make that look nicer, because even on this one, like I really trimmed my seam allowance and it looks better. I trimmed it very close. And like, I don't think this looks that bad, but I would love a cleaner finish, you know, because I just think like this little French seam in here looks so nice. And then to have that kind of sad zigzag stitch looking thing, it's not my favorite. And for example, I can show you how bad the inside of this thing looks. Like this, for example. This is terrible. I kind of almost want to trim down a lot of this seam allowance and redo a zigzag stitch a lot closer to the seam, which is what I ended up doing for the sleeves, because I was kind of just like, well, it kind of looks terrible inside anyway. So I just didn't want to be bothered with doing the French seams on the sleeve. And it doesn't look as bad as some of the other seams, but then I have like this cute little French seam hanging out over here like, hey, look, she really tried here. And then here it's just like, she is almost done. The only thing I have left to do is to open up the buttonholes and attach the buttons. After working on this, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to work with viscose. I mean, it wasn't that bad like yesterday when I was setting in the sleeve. I just have to pin a lot of pins so it doesn't slide around, because this stuff is pretty dang slippery. And as for the buttons, just threw it on the floor. Just this basic button, also thrifted from Emmaüs. It has 3 buttons in the front button placket right here. This buttonhole here, here, and here, and then throw buttons like that and stays kind of open in the front here. This past Saturday, I went to the Fabric District in Paris, which is in the 18th arrondissement, in the 18th district, right by the Sacré-Cœur. So there's this street called Rue d'Orsay, and it has this massive concentration of lots of stores, a lot that sell like remnants and a lot that are more like classic fabric stores. I did film a little bit while I was shopping, but I always feel so awkward when I'm out in public and I like pull out my camera to film something. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want someone to like yell at me, or I don't want people to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, so I filmed little clips here and there of the different stores that we went to. My main idea for this shopping was to look for fabric for a dress that I'm going to sew for my sister's big wedding party, since I failed at the courtroom wedding. Now I'm setting myself an even bigger goal of making it's called the Square Neck V-Waist Dress by Kiana Bonolo. It's this beautiful, very like on-trend square neck V-waist dress with a massive gathered skirt. It's a very simple construction, so it's good for beginners, so I'm not trying to, you know, get too out of my depth here, because I'm not super advanced either. Since I'm in the wedding party, my sister said I could do a dusty pink, a dusty blue, or a sage green. And I don't really like dusty pink, I don't really like dusty blue. I was like, okay, let's go for a sage green. So first, I've also tried to look for dresses online to see if there's something that works from ready to wear, just in case. And I honestly have not found anything. I don't want something that screams like basic bridesmaid, and I also don't want something in polyester. And I found that even the dresses that are like 600 plus tend to be 100% polyester. And this is going to be an outdoor wedding in a tropical island. My family's from Puerto Rico. My sister is doing her wedding there. And I don't want to be wearing a polyester dress when it's hot and humid outside. So my idea is to do this dress, probably line it with a very thin cotton, maybe like a poplin or something even thinner, and to find either like a cotton satin or gabardine and do, I think, just a solid color. And I think what I'd like to do is put ribbon bows on the shoulders to give it a little extra touch. Because I've had all of these other ideas floating around in my head, but I'm like, I don't think I want to complicate my life too much. And so I already bought the pattern, I ordered it to be printed for me. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. So I decided I'm, of course, going to toile it. I didn't end up buying that fabric, but I took a bunch of pictures and I sent pictures to my sister. And she really liked this sage green cotton gabardine, but then I'm worried that if I have to get 5 meters of it for this dress, it's gonna weigh like a lot. I think it's gonna be too heavy, so which is why I'm thinking maybe I should do a cotton satin, like a thinner cotton satin. But I need to go back, I think, to the store and ask what the grams per square meter are on that one. Because if it's like 300, and then no. no. Because I do have a cotton satin, like a sage green bookmark that it's 115. So it's a lot lighter. But then I also wonder if I get a much thinner fabric, if it's not really gonna have the structure that I want in the skirt with all those gathers. I don't want it to fall flat either. So I don't know, let me know what you think. I think I'm going to initially toile it in just like a plain black cotton, just to check the fit. And I'm also taking a fitting class on, not this weekend, in like 2 weeks, I think. The 21st and the 22nd, I signed up for a fitting class at the same place where I learned how to sew, at the Atelier, by the way, in Paris. And it's a 2-day, it's like 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday, more like theoretical stuff on Saturday and more hands-on on Sunday. And we're gonna learn how to adjust patterns in a bunch of different ways. So I think it's like perfect timing in case I have to make adjustments to the pattern. I will be gaining this knowledge soon. And so I think after my initial toile in like a plain black cotton, I am going to make the short version because the pattern also comes with a mini dress version. I thought I could line it in plain black cotton and use this cotton voile. It's gonna be gorgeous. And my sister's best friend is organizing like a bachelorette weekend. And on the Friday, she wants to do a dinner and wine tasting. So I thought it would be so cute. Plus a preview, be like, look, I made this. My dress is gonna come out okay, I hope. If I already made it once. Yeah, so this is a black cotton voile. It's slightly see-through, it's quite thin. Also from Les Coupons Saint-Pierre. Yeah, you can kind of see how it's see-through. And so I'm super excited to make that also. So upcoming, I have the Bardon dress in this. Cotton gingham, and then the square neck V-waist mini dress in this. Oh yeah, I wanted to show some of my fabric stash. This really funky Madras check. Unless I say otherwise, everything is from Les Coupons Saint-Pierre. I've got this super fun printed cotton poplin. The website just said it was made in South America, so it's got a bunch of kind of Latino images and inspiration. And I don't have any specific plans for that or the Madras check, but we'll find a use for them. I've got this really fun, it's serving picnic, isn't it? This gingham, also 100% cotton. And what I really want to do is make the Audrey culottes from Hubbarding and then make a little crop top to match with it. Maybe an Hysope again. But I think I will remove the buttons and just make it close on the side so I don't have to deal with that situation again. So yeah, culottes and a crop top. I have this super fun toile de jouy, you say in French. And I know like a lot of sewing terms stay the same in French and English, so toile de jouy, I don't know. And for this, I want to make this dress pattern, the robe Alésia from Cozy Little World. These are just some thrifted sheets. I think they're from, like, the brand is Marks and Spencer, and it's a collie cotton, which I usually don't like polyester at all, but I figured it could be good for making mock-ups. And it's a sheet set, so I have 2 pillowcases and a duvet cover. And, haha, see, it's gingham and polka dots. So I also thought that could be really fun to play with the prints and do like panels of them or something. So not sure what that's going to become, but I think it has the potential to be really fun. And then here I have 2 fabrics that I bought when I was on vacation in Italy last year. This is a Liberty London. I have 2.7 meters and it was so cheap. So anywhere I look here in France, it's like around 28, 29 euros for a meter of Liberty. And this was like 23. And I wanted 3 meters. There was only 2.7 left on the roll on the thingy. And the lady at the store was like, well, I only have 2.7, I don't have 3, and I'll sell it for you at the price of 2.5. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then I have this gorgeous, gorgeous Italian linen that I told my husband I was being far too ambitious. I was like, choose a nice linen and I'll make you a shirt. So I have 1.7 meters, but there's no way I'm anywhere near ready to make a men's shirt in this. So this is just hanging around till maybe I get to that, or maybe I decide to use it for something else. Oh, this is super uncomfortable. Why did I do this? I kneel, kind of. That's a little better. These two fabrics, the next ones I bought at Mood in Miami, because I was like, oh, there's a Mood fabrics. Since I'm 35 and Project Runway was like my high school and college years, it was just like something that I had to watch because I always wanted to learn how to sew and I never took the time to do it until recently. But when I saw that there was Mood near where we were staying, I was like, let's go designers, make it work. So I got this beautiful broderie anglaise fabric. Does it have a fun border or not? It has, like it's kind of flat here, but it's got this nice scalloped edge and motif here, though most of it is just this little flower print, or not print, but embroidery. And this is actually fabric from a Marc Jacobs collection. I don't know when it was from, but it said it was from a Marc Jacobs collection, and it was pretty expensive. It was 35 bucks a yard, so I only bought 2 yards of it. But it'll probably become some sort of dress. And then I also got this really fun printed cotton, and I got 3 meters of this because it was 3 yards of it because it was a lot cheaper. It's like mushrooms and rainbows. And it's got a little bit of stretch also. So I've been, even though it's not like a super precious, super expensive or anything like that, I've been a little hesitant to work with it because it does have that stretch. And I've never really worked with a stretch fabric before, I think. The gym bag that I made a gym bag, and it was with like a knit velvet, like a corduroy. But yeah, like it was in class and we used interfacing for the zipper and everything. So I don't know, I'm a little nervous about using this. We're back to Stash from Coupon Saint-Pierre. So this is a gorgeous viscose. It's very similar in, I think, weight and texture as the one I used for my Myosotis dress. So I don't know when I'll use it, but what I really want to make with this is the blouse allemand, which is a beautiful button-down top with giant puffy sleeves. But once again, it has a bunch of buttons down the front, and this fabric is definitely a little slippery, so I need to work up the courage to do it. This is also from the Coupon Saint-Pierre. This is a much thicker, like plaid cotton. I think it's 100% cotton also. And I bought this thinking to make the Peppermint button, I don't know if it's the button up or the button down dress, but once again, buttons. I'm scared of buttons because every time I've done buttons, they don't look great. Like my buttonholes are not aligned, and I just find it very stressful for now. I'm sure it will get better. If you have any tips, let me know. And then I have a little bit of this stretch funky velvet. It's probably 100% polyester. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I might get rid of it. I randomly bought it to potentially make accessories with, but I don't think I'm going to do that. And I don't like wearing polyester, so. Anyway, if you made it all the way here, thank you for watching this. And I will say have a great day and have fun sewing. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe. It's mostly knitting stuff, but I am going to try to do more sewing stuff if I keep up with this Sojo business. And I want to, I really do. And I will leave you with my footage from shopping in Paris. Bye.